Well, obviously, we're very excited about this upcoming season. Coming off of our fifth consecutive 20-win season, fifth consecutive NCAA tournament experience, and obviously we lost Alex Montgomery, a top 10 draft pick in the WNBA, and Deja Foster, who were tremendous players in our program over their 4-year careers. But we were bringing in a top 10 recruiting class in the country, and including TJ Gortner, who's ranked 10th in the country, and Sydney Wallace, who's a top 25 player that's from here in Atlanta. So we're obviously getting geared up. We've already had our 7th practice and our first scrimmage, and we're really excited about the depth of this team and the experience. I have 5 seniors this year. 4 of them have started throughout their careers. I have 12 letter winners back, and it's just a very exciting time in our program. We obviously are a little disjointed because we're going to be playing all of our games out in Gwinnett this season and don't really have a home court, but we're excited about the changes and the new facility that we're going to have here in 2013. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to open it up.
Coach, do you get to practice at all out at Gwinnett before the season starts?
Yeah, we're actually working on men's and women's basketball, getting a chance to go out there next week and the next 2 weeks and have one practice there before we play there. So it's not going to be a lot, but we'll have the opportunity to go into the gym and actually get a feel for it.
Coach, how big of a disadvantage is that, not having a home court and having to, I don't know what the traffic will be like when you're trying to get out there for games or
Right.
that sort of thing. What kind of damper does that put on the season with the court situation?
Well, obviously it's not ideal, but we understand that change is progress, and to get the kind of facility that we're going to have in a year, we're going to have to sacrifice something. But again, we're excited about going to Gwinnett because we feel like out there there's a lot of women's basketball fans, a lot of high school girls basketball is very strong in that area, and our thought process is we're going to go out there and gain some new fans and bring them back with us the following year. So, we're excited about being in Gwinnett. I think it's going to be a unique opportunity. Fortunately for me, again, we have 5 seniors, so if I had to do it with one group, I'm glad it's this group that I'm doing it with. No, not yet. We might have to look into that, though.
Coach, you talked about the recent success of the program. Is it something that you worry about, maybe with complacency or having to deal with higher expectations now? Is that something that concerns you?
You would think so, but, looking at this group, I think one of the things that they've kind of got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, this senior class, because it's like they have they have this mindset that they don't want to be the class that allows this to go backwards. Every year in the last 5 years, we've set the record for the most wins in the history of our program. And I think that these 5 seniors have felt like it's their goal to make sure that we continue that trend and not go the other direction. And also, I think a lot of people will underestimate this group because we did lose Alex Montgomery. Anytime you lose a player that's considered one of the top 10 players in the country, you expect to have some adversity and maybe take a step backwards. But the first 7 practices, if they're any indication of where we are with this program, this is, in my mind, the best team I've ever had, top to bottom. The most talented, the most depth, most speed, the most quickness. There's not I look out there and we have a lot more weapons than we've had in the past.
Metra made a big jump last year in her overall play. What are you seeing from her this year?
Well, it was interesting. We played a 40-minute scrimmage the other day against our Gold Squad guys, and we had 6 turnovers. This early in the season, that's kind of amazing. But when you look at Mimi Walthour, who is a senior who played almost 40 minutes a game last year, every ACC game, and you realize that she was one of the leaders in the nation in assist-to-turnover ratio. You expect things like that out of a senior point guard, and she just continues to improve. And one of the things that's been great is to have her being a mentor to Sydney Wallace. And you got Sydney Wallace and Ty Marshall on the wings, and that's the most speed and quickness with the 3 of them that I've ever had on our perimeter.
I was actually going to ask you about Ty. Where do you want to see her improve, and how does she look so far? And also Danielle Hamilton-Carter, who missed so much time last year for whatever reason.
Right.
How does she look coming into campus so far?
Well, the great thing about Ty is, she's put on about 10 pounds of muscle in the off season, so she's a lot more physical than she was a year ago, and she can go a lot longer and take more of a beating than she could a year ago with the physical play in the ACC. That wore her down towards the end of the season, but I think that she's more physically ready for this season, and has really improved her perimeter shooting. One of the things last year, she was more of a slasher, could get to the rim, pull up jump shot. This year, in early in the preseason, it seems like she's looking for her three-point shot more, looking for more of a perimeter jump shot off the pass, not going to the bounce so much, which, a year ago, that's the way she played. She scored 90% of her points off penetration. So that's one of the improvements I've seen in her. She's become a very vocal leader on the floor for a sophomore. I think she understands her responsibility now as a go-to player to replace Alex and take on that responsibility. One of the things you asked about Danny Hamilton-Carter, one of the things I think really helped Danny was this summer going and playing in China with the national team in Sweden. That was a tremendous experience for her to go against the other country's best teams and to be a part of that. I think she's much more calm, much more experienced. You can tell this year just really gets out there and demands the ball and gives us another weapon inside because she's a great perimeter scorer, not only with her back to the basket but facing up. So I'm looking for big things from Danny.
Coach, can you talk a little bit? You said this is the most veteran team. How does that help you as you head into the season?
Well, I think the most important thing that I've seen early on is I can do more. I don't have to teach effort. I don't have to coach effort on the court because my seniors make sure that we're playing at a high level all the time. There's 5 of them out there, so I have tremendous leadership as far as verbal communication and placing demands on each other and on themselves. So, I've been able to do a lot more teaching and less motivating early on in the season. And I also think just the transition from conditioning to practice has been really smooth because, those 12 letter winners and 5 seniors have all been in the NCAA tournament every year that they've been a part of our program. So they know what the expectations are. They know we're not playing right now for November. We're playing for March and April. And I think that's one of the things that this veteran group has been able to demand of everyone on the team, from the freshmen all the way up through the juniors and seniors.
You lost 2 good rebounders in Alex and Deja. Who are you looking for to pick up the slack?
Well, obviously, you first got to look at Sasha Goodlett. She's one of the top players in the ACC. I definitely think she's one of the top 10 players in the ACC, and we're hoping to be a first-round draft pick. So she's going to have to step up her rebounding. The other person that stood out and I thought really came into her own at the end of last season was Chelsea Regions. Chelsea she's a tremendous competitor, our highest energy kid, and I really think that she has an opportunity to do some special things this year. Obviously, where we're lacking is perimeter rebounding, and that's always been a strength of our teams at Georgia Tech. And that's something that we're not as big on the perimeter as we were last year, a year ago with Deja and Alex, but we're quicker, and we have better one-on-one type scores. So I honestly think that what we're giving up in size, we're gaining in speed and quickness and scoring.
What was your reaction to the conference expanding?
It was. I'm excited that we're got out in front, the ACC, and really took charge and took control of this whole conference expansion thing that's going on across the country. I was pleased about that the ACC seemed to have an idea of what they wanted and where we were going. But it seems a little odd to add teams like Syracuse and Pittsburgh to the ACC, but. Like I said, I think it's only going to make our conference stronger in a lot of sports and a lot of areas. So we're looking forward to it. I know they're talking about going to 18 league games with this expansion for women's basketball. So that's a huge change for us because a year ago we were at 14 league games. This year we're at 16 league games. And then to go to 18 league games in 2 years is a huge jump. So it really affects our scheduling non-conference.
Two-part question. First is, you've been practicing for a week now. And I was curious just to get your take on how long you think it takes for the freshmen to get acclimated to college ball. And then the second question, kind of piggybacking off of that, is if you have a freshman, do you like to try to kind of work them into the rotation gradually, or is it one of those things where if they're the best option, you go ahead and just throw them into the fire right away?
Well, I think one of the, which I mentioned earlier, is having these upperclassmen, these 12-letter winners. It's made that transition for those freshmen that much easier because you only have 3 players on the floor that haven't been a part of your system, and you've got 15 kids. So, it's made that transition very smooth. Like, I'm not the only one having to correct them. I've got 12 other coaches on the floor telling them what to do. So, it's been very smooth as far as that's concerned. when I step between the lines, I don't look at who's a senior, who's a freshman. I'm going for the best players on the team that's going to help me win. And, that's the thing I tell our players. I'm a practice coach. You're going to earn your playing time in practice. And, ever since I've been at Georgia Tech for 9 years, I've always started a freshman. So to me, it's like basketball's a game of mistakes. I mean, you got to learn through your mistakes. And, I don't have any problem playing a freshman. I don't have any problem starting a freshman. I'm going to play the best players who are going to help me win.
Not to jump on how much you're going to miss Alex, but obviously you're going to miss her perimeter shooting. Who's going to pick the slack up there, and is it something you may rely less on offensively in your schemes?
Well, you don't replace a player like Alex Montgomery in the impact she had on this program in a lot of different areas. Not just her three-point shooting, which obviously she carried us a lot of the times in that area, but her defensive rebounding. She led the ACC in defensive rebounding. She was one of the best defensive rebounding guards in the country. So those are two big areas that we're going to have to address early. But, you got Sydney Wallace, who's a tremendous scorer, a freshman coming in that's really surprised me early on in her ability to create shots for herself. And then Frida Fodgemark, who was recruited here to be a three-point shooting specialist, has really played again, another player that played internationally this summer with the Swedish national team and led them in three-point field goals and three-point field goal percentage. And, she's really, early on in practice, has really stood out to me. And then Mimi Walthour, who was our second best three-point shooter last year. So we feel as though, and TJ Gortner, who's a post player 6'2" post player that's a great three-point shooter. So we've added some other weapons. It's not going to be one person replacing Alex Montgomery. You just don't do that. She's going to be replaced by a committee.